What's going on, man? We back with another video. Before we do anything else, all praise to the Most High. Today we have 15 weird facts you didn't know about white chicks. Now, considering what this movie is, I feel like 15 ain't enough weird facts that we don't know about this. I feel like it's way more because the movie weird in itself. Let's get right into it though.
Your mother's so old that her breast milk is powdered. You breastfeed like this.
White Chicks didn't get a warm welcome. Critics called it the worst film of the year. Audiences made it a $100 million hit anyway. Behind it, a makeup chair that nearly destroyed two men, a script born from a completely different movie, and a rating battle the studio almost lost. These are 15 weird facts about White Chicks. And the bonus, a sequel that has been announced, canceled, confirmed, and leaked for 20 straight years. Still no film. Triple TKA time to totally kick ass. Number 1. The rough draft was called The Miltons. White Chicks didn't start as White Chicks. The original script carried a completely different title, The Miltons.
It sounds like that be happening a
Behind it
lot.
was even further from the finished film than the name suggests. The Wangs were developing a comedic remake of Gone with the Wind. Not a loose homage, not a nod. A full comedic reimagining of the 1939 epic, relocated to modern-day Beverly Hills. The Civil War backdrop stripped out. The Southern drama replaced with something sharper and more contemporary. The title itself was a deliberate echo. The Miltons sounding just close enough to the Hiltons to signal exactly who the satire had in its sights. Paris Hilton's world, new money performing old money, status as costume. After round of script revisions, the Gone with the Wind framework fell away entirely. The setting moved from Beverly Hills to the Hamptons. The premise evolved from period parody into an undercover FBI comedy built around physical transformation. The Miltons became White Chicks, and the socialite world the Wangs had been circling from the beginning finally had the right frame around it. Number 2. The makeup took 7 hours, every single day.
Jesus
I
Christ.
gotta go out with Mandingo, because if you don't, you're gonna blow out cover. Yeah, well, what you gonna be doing?
Greg Canham is one of the most decorated makeup artists in Hollywood history. 5 Academy Awards,
7
Bram Stoker's
hours?
Dracula, Mrs. Doubtfire, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Vice. When the studio approached him about White Chicks, they didn't come with excitement. They came with a warning. The transformation can't be done. 2 black men convincingly passing as white socialite women on a major motion picture. Too ambitious, too risky, too technically impossible. Canham heard it and took it as a challenge. 6 weeks of preparation followed. 7 life mask sculptures, countless wig configurations, 6 full screen tests before a single frame of the actual film rolled. The prosthetics covered the entire face, the neck, and the hands. Every appliance had to land within 1/8 of an inch of its mark, or the entire illusion collapsed. Then came the daily reality of production. 7 hours in the chair, every single morning before filming could begin. Not 4, not 5, 7. And when the
That's
day
a
wrapped,
long
an
time,
hour
bro.
to remove it all. Marlon Wayans
That's
later
a
said
whole
the
work
first time
shift.
Nam saw him in full makeup with the contact lenses in, it was the only time in his career he had been genuinely shocked. There was no trace of Marlon left. The studio said it couldn't be done. Kanam did it 65 mornings in a row. Number 3.
7 hours a day, 65 times. Boy, hell no, boy. That's insane. That's insane. 8 hours because you still had to take it off. I'd have just took it home and went to sleep in it at that
lost
point.
30 pounds for the role. The prosthetics were only part of the transformation. Before Canham's team could do anything, the body underneath had to match the character. Sean Wangs dropped 30 pounds in preparation for the role. A strict diet and a demanding training regimen throughout pre-production, all aimed at reshaping his silhouette to convincingly pass as a slender, white socialite on camera. Marlon trimmed down as well. Both brothers committed to the physical work before a single day of principal photography began.
That's
The
commitment
goal wasn't
right there,
just to
bro.
look different. It was to move differently, to carry the weight and the posture of the characters they were about to spend months inhabiting. Sean's dedication to the physical preparation became part of the larger story of what the film cost his 2 leads. The prosthetics were the visible sacrifice. The 30 pounds came before anyone even saw them in the chair. Number 4. The film was shot in 65 days. 65 days. That was the entire production window for a film that required 7 hours of makeup application every single morning before the cameras could roll. The math alone is punishing. 7 hours of makeup, 14 hours of filming, 1 hour to remove it all. By Marlon's own account, he and Sean were running on 2 hours of sleep a night for the entire shoot. Not occasionally, every night, for 65 consecutive days. Makeup effects creator Greg Canham later described the experience plainly. Grueling for the actors, grueling for his team trying to recreate the same precision transformation each morning. One prosthetic piece a fraction of an inch off center and everything fell apart. If either brother ate or drank anything during the day, touch-ups were mandatory. The pressure never let up, and yet the energy on screen never reflects it. The finished film moves with a looseness and a comedic confidence that gives no indication of what it costs to produce a single frame. 65 days of 2 hours of sleep and 7 hours in a chair, and they still found time to make it look effortless. Number 5, Terry Crews improvised most of his performance.
Santa must have come early this year.
Terry Crews was not an unknown when White Chicks came along. He had already broken through 2 years earlier in Friday After Next, a scene-stealing supporting turn that announced exactly what kind of performer he was. By the time he stepped onto the White Chicks set, he had a string of credits behind him and a reputation for walking into other people's movies and walking out with the best moments in them.
Man,
White Chicks gave him room to
the
do
fuck
it at a
type of
bigger
camera
scale.
angle was that? Don't do that no more. I'll click off this video. Boy, I promise I would. You won't get no view
Crews
time
played
from me.
Latrell Spencer, the film's most unhinged, most committed, most completely unhinged supporting character. A man who falls catastrophically in love with one of the Wilson sisters and pursues that infatuation with the energy of someone who has never once been told no. Large portions of what ended up on screen were not in the script. Crews improvised freely throughout production. Lines, reactions, physical beats pushed further than the written page called for. Keenan Ivory Wayans gave him the space to find the character rather than perform it. The impact was immediate. Adam Sandler watched White Chicks and was so struck by Crews that he restructured a role in The Longest Yard specifically for him before the film even released. From there came the Expendables franchise, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and one of the most recognizable faces on television. It started.
Man, bro, I'm telling you, bro, that goes to show when you have an opportunity, you better make the best of it. A lot of people be glass half empty type of people. Man, bro, you get an opportunity, even if it's small, even if you better make the best of it, because you don't never know what that'll lead to.
The Hamptons Hotel ballroom with a man singing 1,000 miles like his life depended on it. One take. Keenan called cut and said they didn't need another. He was right. Number 6, Sean and Marlon tested the disguises in public.
Poor thing just pooped everywhere. And teaching how to say quiero Taco Bell. Thanks a lot, Rico Suave.
The prosthetics could fool a camera. The question was whether they could fool a person standing 3 feet away. Before production locked in, both brothers took the transformation out of the controlled environment of the makeup chair and into the real world to find out. Fully dressed, full prosthetics, full character, out in public spaces where nobody knew what they were looking at. Keenan encouraged it. The logic was straightforward. If the disguise held up under real-world conditions, it would hold up on screen. What came back from those tests was more than technical confirmation. Marlon has recalled standing at a urinal next to a man in a public restroom while fully in character as Tiffany Wilson. The man had no idea. The reactions they encountered in those unscripted moments, the confusion, the acceptance, the complete absence of suspicion, fed directly into how they played certain scenes on camera. The comedy wasn't just written, it was field tested. 2 men in full prosthetic transformation, walking through the real world and watching people accept what they were seeing without question. That information lived in the performances. You can feel it in every scene where the disguise should collapse and somehow doesn't. Number 7, the dance battle was barely rehearsed.
You know, that's a great idea. Here, oh baby, let's go, girls. Let's go.
The dance battle sequence is one of the most rewatched moments in the film. Marlon Wayans, in full prosthetic transformation, committed completely, performing with an energy that looked spontaneous because it largely
This motherfucker here,
was
man.
not locked in well in advance. Marlon worked with choreographers in the days immediately before the sequence was scheduled to film, not weeks. Days. The rush preparation shows in the best possible way. What could have felt staged and overly polished instead carries a looseness and an urgency that makes it impossible to look away. It became the scene most people quote first when the film comes up, the scene most recreated on social media. The scene that lives rent-free in the memory of anyone who saw it in 2004 and has never fully left. A dance battle, built in days that has outlasted nearly everything else from that summer. Sometimes the chaos shows up on screen and it looks exactly like confidence. Number 8, the film was nearly rated R. White Chicks, as it exists in theaters, is a PG-13 film. That rating was not inevitable. Early cuts pushed hard against the boundary. The Wangs had written material that went significantly further in language, humor, in the particular brand of boundary-testing comedy that defines their sensibility at full volume. Columbia Pictures held firm. PG-13 rating was non-negotiable from the studio's perspective. The math was straightforward. An R rating narrowed the audience. A PG-13 rating opened it up to families, to younger viewers, to the broadest possible commercial reach. Several scenes were trimmed. Others were reshot entirely to bring the film inside the line. The Wangs pushed back where they could and gave ground where they had to. The result was a film that still managed to feel like it was operating at the edge of what the rating allowed. Sharp enough to satisfy the audience that showed up for a Wangs comedy while remaining technically acceptable to a studio protecting its investment. What got cut has never been officially released, but the people who made the film know exactly what didn't make it. Number 9, 1,000 Miles became the film's accidental anthem.
Making my way downtown, walking fast.
Vanessa Carlton wrote 1,000 Miles in 2002. It had nothing to do with white chicks. It had nothing to do with FBI agents in prosthetics or Hampton socialites or Terry Crews. It was a piano-driven pop song that had already run its radio cycle and begun the slow fade that most hit singles experience after their moment passes. Then the Wayans licensed it. Then Terry Crews performed it in a car with the conviction of a man auditioning for a role he was born to play. Shot in a single take. No second attempt. One run at it and the camera caught everything. The commitment, the unapologetic sincerity, the complete absence of irony from a performance built entirely on irony. The scene gave the song a second life that its original release never could have predicted. Carlton has acknowledged publicly that White Chicks is the reason 1,000 Miles is still in the conversation.
And now, damn, I don't even know why the hell that came up. And now Young and Ace is the reason why 1,000 Miles is still in the conversation. Who I smoke? Alright, I ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna do that.
Later, the song and the film are inseparable in pop culture memory. One scene, one take. One song that refused to stay forgotten. Number 10, Columbia Pictures had serious doubts before release. The studio wasn't convinced. During post-production, Columbia executives weren't sure what they had on their hands or whether mainstream audiences would show up for it. The premise alone gave them pause. 2 black men in full prosthetic transformation playing white socialites. Broad physical comedy. A Wangs Brothers production that pushed hard against every boundary the rating allowed. Test screenings produced mixed internal reactions. The concern wasn't just about taste. It was about whether the joke would hold for 90 minutes or collapse under its own weight before the third act. The Wangs pushed back against notes that would have softened the comedy and diluted exactly what made it work. They had built something specific, and they weren't interested in sanding the edges off to make a nervous studio feel better about it. Columbia released it anyway with a modest marketing push and quietly hoped for the best. Opening weekend, the film debuted at number 2 with $19.7 million. It finished with $70.8 million domestic and $113 million worldwide against a $37 million budget. More than triple its production costs returned from global audiences. The critics were brutal. Rotten Tomatoes landed at 15%. Roger Ebert gave it 1.5 stars.
We already know how we feel about the critics.
The worst film of 2004.
Don't nobody care. Look at your face.
Anyway, the studio that had doubts ended up with one of the more profitable comedies of that summer. A hit it didn't fully believe in until the receipts came back and made the argument for them. Number 11. The film predicted influencer culture before it existed. White Chicks arrived in 2004, 2 years before Twitter, 3 years before the iPhone, 4 years before Instagram. The socialite world it was mocking. Brand obsession, status signaling, appearance as currency, performative femininity as a full-time occupation became the exact infrastructure of influencer culture within a decade. When the film found its second audience on streaming platforms in the 2020s, younger viewers didn't watch it as a period piece. They recognized the world it was satirizing as their own. What read as broad parody in 2004 reads closer to documentary in 2024. The Wangs were dismantling a system that was just getting started. They didn't know it, but they were early. Number 12. Marlon said yes to a sequel, but only on one condition. Marlon Wayans has never hidden his interest in returning. The desire for White Chicks 2 has never been the question. The question has always been what it would cost him to get back in that chair, and the answer, delivered clearly and without negotiation, is that he won't. The 7-hour daily transformation is a closed chapter. His condition for a sequel is specific: no bodysuits, no prosthetics, no repeat of the physical punishment that defined 65 of the most grueling production days of his career. He wants AI to do what the makeup did. His words on the
That
Breakfast
ain't gonna
Club
work.
left no room for interpretation. He was waiting for the technology. He didn't want to sit in a makeup chair for 7 hours again across 60 days, then work 14 hours after that, then sleep 2 hours before doing it all over again the next morning. That was the math of the original shoot. 7 hours of makeup, 14 hours on set, 1 hour to remove it, 2 hours of sleep, repeat 65 times. He did it once because the film demanded it. He is not doing it again because the film demands it a second time. Get in the chair twice. Let AI handle the rest. The sequel lives or dies on that condition. The suit stays off the table. And until the technology catches up to the demand, White Chicks 2 stays exactly where it has been for 20 years. Almost real, not quite there. Number 13.
It might be better off not to do a sequel.
Divided the industry.
Might be one of them movies.
Again,
Really.
as a very white woman, and a kind of an attractive white woman.
5 Oscar wins. A career built on transformations that redefined what makeup could do on screen. And White Chicks was the job the studio told him couldn't be done. Canham took that as his entire motivation. What he delivered was technically extraordinary. Prosthetics designed to move convincingly during physical comedy, under hot lights, across 65 grueling production days. Inside the industry, the reaction was split. Some colleagues recognized it as a remarkable achievement given the constraints. Others fixated on the uncanny quality of the final result, the slightly unsettling look that existed somewhere between convincing and intentionally wrong. Whether that was a flaw or the joke entirely depends on who you ask. Canham proved the studio wrong. The debate about what he actually made has never fully settled. Number 14. The Hamptons scenes were filmed in British Columbia. The wealthy East Coast world at the center of White Chicks was almost entirely built in Canada. Principal photography took place in Chilliwack and Victoria in British Columbia. Production designers reconstructed the aesthetic of Hampton's old money on a Canadian budget. The estates, the exteriors, the manicured social landscape of a world that exists 3,000 miles away from where they were actually standing. Select scenes used real Hamptons locations in New York, but the majority of what audiences read as Long Island privilege was quietly British Columbia. The illusion held. Nobody watching the film felt the Pacific Northwest underneath it. Number 15. Marlin-based Tiffany Wilson, directly on Paris Hilton.
What? What, boy, what? I take the both of you.
The inspiration wasn't hidden. It was hiding in plain sight the whole time. Marlon Wayans confirmed in a June 2021 Instagram post that he based his character, Tiffany Wilson, specifically on Paris Hilton. The connection runs deeper than the performance. The Wilson name lands close enough to Hilton to signal exactly who the satire had in its sights. And the title, The Miltons, the original name for the scriptings, was a deliberate Hilton echo from day one. Sean Wayans was the one who sparked the whole thing. He showed Marlon a magazine cover of Paris and Nikki Hilton during the early development conversations and said they should play girls like that. That image, 2 blonde socialites performing a version of femininity that existed entirely for public consumption, became the foundation the entire film was built on. Even the song playing, when the brothers first encounter the Wilson sisters at the airport, is a spoof of a track recorded for Paris Hilton's reality show, The Simple Life. The Wangs weren't just inspired by the Hiltons, they reconstructed them from the ground up and then spent $100 million comedy dismantling everything they represent. Bonus, the sequel that refuses to die. White Chicks grossed $113 million worldwide on a $37 million budget. The math made a sequel an obvious conversation. Sony had that conversation in August 2009 and announced one publicly, then canceled it. The announcement disappeared as quietly as it arrived, and the project went dark. 9 years passed. In March 2018, a sequel was confirmed to be in the works again. A second announcement, a second wave of fan excitement, then silence again. Then, June 30th, 2019, Terry Crews sat down on Watch, What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, and told the world it was happening. Said he had spoken to Sean Wayans directly. Said Sean told him they were getting it going. Said he was staying in shape specifically for the movie. Marlon Wayans responded almost immediately. The information was not supposed to leak. The deal had not been confirmed. Cruise had jumped ahead of a conversation that wasn't finished yet. The announcement was walked back before the week was out. Then in February 2026, Marlon confirmed the sequel would happen, but tied it directly to the performance of the new Scary Movie reboot. One film's success holding another film's existence hostage. 20 years, 4 announcements, 1 premature leak, 0 release dates, the most anticipated sequel nobody has ever actually seen. Still coming, allegedly, possibly, depending on how Scary Movie does. White Chicks didn't need a good review, it never did. Critics lined up to bury it and audiences lined up to watch it anyway. 20 years later, the quotes are still in circulation, the dance battle still lives on every platform, and 1,000 Miles will never fully belong to Vanessa Carlton again. It was too broad, too loud, too ridiculous, and that's exactly why it lasted. Some comedies age. This one just keeps finding new people who weren't ready for it. Drop a comment and tell us what film we should get into next. Because some movies don't need critical approval. They just need the right crowd. Thanks for watching.
Shit, most of the time, they don't ever need critical approval. That shit don't be making no sense. The critics are trash, bro. I don't think, has there ever been a movie that the critics been right on? If they say it's trash and it's actually trash, or they say it's good and it's actually good, like, who are these dudes? And who gave them the jobs? I don't know, man, but yeah, 1,000 Miles definitely don't belong to her no more. Yeah, but the question is, do it belong more to that movie or do it belong more to Young and Age now? Cause I don't think nobody in 2026 even think about the original song no more. I don't know what y'all think in the comments. That's gonna do it for this video, man. Eat fruit, get you some money, and she, like I say, take every opportunity where you get them and make the best of it. Go crazy. You'll never know what it might lead to. Might be your big break. Catch y'all in the next one.